So happy to see you. The meeting with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the meeting, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting such comments as they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public are once again asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank all of you for your cooperation this evening. With that, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hazen?
Here.
Mrs. Volker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Ms. Hahn?
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mr. Violi?
Here.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of March 18th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
Yes, Mr. President. We have a letter from the Board of Zoning Appeals regarding their recommendations from their April 9th, 2024 meeting. Honorable members, a regular meeting of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals was held on the above referenced date, at which time the following use variances were considered. Appeal number 2024-05, an appeal submitted by Sharon Hellman requesting a use variance for 1017 East Jefferson to allow a food truck in the parking lot of a body shop. The board, with a vote of 4-0, recommended approval. Appeal number 2024-07, an appeal submitted by Jonathan and Lisa Polder, Rev Trust, requesting a use variance for 311 Taylor Street to allow for a duplex in an R1 single-family residential district. The board, with a vote of 3-1, recommended denial. Appeal number 2024-08, an appeal submitted by 120BS LLC, requesting a use variance for 415 Bittersweet Road to allow for a restaurant with drive-through in the C1 General Commercial District. The board, with a vote of 4-0, recommended approval. This is signed by Donna Burkhart, Administrative Planner. We also have a letter from the City Plan Commission regarding their recommendations from their April 9th meeting. Honorable members, a regular meeting of the Mishawaka Plan Commission was held on the above referenced date, at which time the following petitions were considered. Petition number 2024-05, a request submitted by SEC Investments requesting to rezone from C1 General Commercial to C10 Filling Station Commercial for property located at the southeast corner of Douglas and Fur Roads. The Commission, with a vote of 6-2, recommended denial. Petition number 2024-06, a request submitted by 120BS LLC requesting to rezone from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 General Commercial for a restaurant with a drive-through located at 415 Bittersweet Road. The Commission, with a vote of 8-0, recommended approval. This is signed by Donna Burkhart, Administrative Planner.
Thank you. This evening, we have no report of any special committee, so we'll move into ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2024-08, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, as from time to time amended, commonly known as the Zoning Ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone from C1 General Commercial to C10 Filling Station Commercial for proposed Casey's Convenience Store and Gas Station, southeast corner of Douglas and Fur Roads. The petitioner is requesting second reading to be held on May 20th.
Proposed ordinance 2024-08 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee, and the record will reflect that based upon the request of the petitioner, this matter will be scheduled for second reading and public hearing on May 20th, 2024.
Proposed ordinance number 2024-09, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, as from time to time amended, commonly known as the zoning ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 General Commercial for a restaurant with drive-through, Jimmy John's, 417 Bittersweet Road.
Proposed ordinance 2024-09 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2024-10, an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 58 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, commonly referred to as the Traffic Code. This is amending the traffic code to add four-way stops at various intersections.
Proposed ordinance 2024-10 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee, and it will also be referred to the Mishawaka Traffic Commission for their review. Resolutions.
Resolution R 2024-04, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, introducing an ordinance for annexation, adopting a written fiscal plan, and defining policy for annexation for property located at 58650 Bremen Highway, 15900 and 15901 Princess Drive, 15676 Dragoon Trail, Mishawaka, east side of Bremen Highway, approximately 480 feet south of Dragoon Trail.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-04. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, President, members of the council. My name is Derek Spear. I'm the city planner. Offices are located here at City Hall. This is a fiscal plan for proposed annexation over 18 acres for residential development located at the southeast corner of Bremen Highway and Dragoon Trail. Prior to preparing these plans, we forward them to all city departments that would provide services to them. And we are asked if there are any expenditures or costs, what would be required to service the area, and if the funds are already currently approved within the city budget. In this case, the property is in a pocket of unincorporated area immediately adjacent to the existing city limits. The developer is responsible for extending all utilities to the property and also constructing any of the required improvements in the public right-of-way for the proposed development. So no additional expenditures are anticipated at this time. The proposal, if you may remember, it was 50 to 75 residential units. The value of each of the units is approximately $500,000. Currently on the property, there's 2 single-family homes, and those will be incorporated into the overall design of the property. And with the proposed development to include up to 75 residential units over the next several years, it's anticipated that the assessed valuations will significantly increase, and as a result, the amount of taxes that each tax unit will get will increase. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Spear? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If Mr. Carroll.
For holding meetings and answering the questions of folks in the immediate area within the district. And to my knowledge, all of those questions they had and concerns have been answered to their satisfaction.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, I will call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0. Proposed ordinance or proposed resolution 2024-05, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, introducing an ordinance for annexation, adopting a written fiscal plan, and a definite policy for annexation for the property located at the northwest corner of Cleveland Road and Capitol Avenue, including adjacent Cleveland Road and Capitol Avenue public right-of-way.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-05. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, President, members of the council. Derek Spear, city planner. Offices are located here at City Hall. This is a proposed annexation at the northwest corner of Cleveland Road and Capitol. It includes over 30 acres. Of those 30 acres, 19 are within the public right-of-way. This is planned to be a phased auto mall commercial development, and it is immediately adjacent to property that was annexed 2 years ago that was brought into the city, over 60 acres to the north and to the west, and it's owned by the same applicant. Just like the last one, all the city departments had indicated that they could service this with no additional expenditures, and it's already within their within the budget that they could service it. And also, like the last one, the developer is required to extend any utilities to the property and do any improvements within the public right-of-way, so there's no additional expenditures that are anticipated to the public. This is a multi-phased project. It's about a $50 million development. Currently on the piece to be annexed, there is a single-family house. A lot of it is farmed, and with the commercial development and the $50 million that's anticipated to be constructed, it's also anticipated to significantly increase tax revenue for all taxing districts. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Spear? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If so, please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen? Yes. Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0. Proposed resolution 2024-06, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, introducing an ordinance for annexation, adopting a written fiscal plan, and a definite policy for annexation for the property located at 16963 West Douglas Road.
Thank you. We'll now move into the public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-06. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Good evening, President, members of the council. Derek Spear, city planner. Offices are located here at City Hall. This fiscal plan is for an annexation of property at 16963 West Douglas Road. It's a 1.4 acre property that includes a single family residential house. It is truly a pocket in that all the property to the north, west, and east is currently within the city limits. The property is proposed to be combined with the adjacent property to the north and west and developed for a proposed U-Haul development. Like the last two, the developer is responsible for connecting all city utilities to the property, so there's no anticipated cost in public expenditures required for the property. And also with this property, with the vacant land being to the north and west, and then this being just a single-family residential home, in the future it's anticipated to bring increased revenue based on the increase in the assessed valuation for the project. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Spear? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone physically present who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak? Are there any council members who wish to speak? And hearing none, I call for the question. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution passes 9-0. Resolution R 2024-07, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 1017 East Jefferson Boulevard. This is a use variance to allow a food truck in the parking lot of Pilo's Body Shop.
Thank you. We will now move into the public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-07. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pablo Bueno Jr. I'm better known as Pilo. I'm the owner of Pilo's Body Shop and Auto Sales, LLC, located at 1017 East Jefferson Boulevard in Mishawaka. Well, I was originally granted a permit back in '22. We didn't end up doing anything that year. I ended up getting sick 3 different times of COVID. Set me back quite a bit. So we're here once again to renew the permit and continue to move forward with our plan of a food truck at Pilo's Body Shop.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the council? Mr. Mamalenti.
Mr. President, thank you for coming. Glad everything went well last year health-wise. Just anything different than when you came to us before in 2022?
No, nothing has changed. Everything's still the same.
So just to be clear, you never operated the food truck,
That is correct.
correct? Thank you.
Ms. Hahn?
Food truck will be stationary?
No.
Oh,
I mean, stationary,
will the food truck be going off the property or will it always be located?
no, it's only going to be the Thursday, Friday, and I believe it was Saturday.
Okay.
3 days a week from 2 to 8 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, and 4 to 6 hours on Saturday.
And where do you anticipate most of your business coming from?
Just the general public.
Mr. Benicki?
You didn't happen to bring samples, did you? But
Not yet,
I look forward to stopping by and trying that
Sir,
out.
I
once you
would
get up and running.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Volker?
Thank you. Hi, nice to see you again.
Likewise.
So is the truck equipped? Is it ready to go, or are you still?
Well, like I said, I was sick from COVID, so that set me back and finished repairing it. We're this close to finishing it up, and we anticipate to be ready. We were hoping to be ready by Cinco de Mayo, which is why I'm here today. But it doesn't matter at this point. I just want to get it, be able to put it out there at one point or another.
And just a follow-up question, if you don't mind. So are you doing the cooking, or is it your son who's doing?
No, it's family members, and I will hire somebody, a professional chef, to cook.
So tell me about the steps at this point. So you have a truck that's almost ready to go.
Yes.
Is it painted and?
Yes, it's getting wrapped.
Okay.
It's going to get wrapped
So
this weekend.
Then do you have to go to the health department to get
That is correct.
next? Is that, so that's the next?
I'm
step.
already in contact with them and stuff. They're waiting for certain things for me to continue, for them to continue forward.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And it is an established food truck. It had been a food truck prior to me. That's why I bought it.
Okay.
It was already made. It's got a kitchen and everything already.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions from the council? Sir, just a couple follow-ups then. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
To begin with, and I assume that you have seen the staff report, there are 2 conditions that are proposed for any approval of your request. The first is that the truck would be located at a minimum of 10 feet from the north property line. Is there a problem with that?
Not a problem at all.
And then the second is that the hours of operation would be limited to 6 hours per day and 3 days a week.
That's correct.
Do you have an idea, that's a general standard, specifically which 3 days and which 6 hours per day would
Well-
you intend to operate?
Thursday and Friday for a fact, but I had asked for Sundays, but I'm back and forth with Saturday or Sunday. Probably Sunday.
So basically the weekend,
Yes.
starting on Thursday. All right. As you made reference to, I feel the same way about this as I did back in 2022. I like the story. I like the fact that you want to bring your son into the business and allow him to participate as well. So I feel good about it. What I don't feel as good about is the fact that, and I understand the health situation, but right or wrong, the council put a year limitation on the original use variance so that we could gauge how this would work in the neighborhood and the community, since it's a little bit of an unusual request that doesn't come to us that frequently. And now, and it sounds like through no fault of your own, the year has come and gone, but you haven't operated to the point where we can gauge what, if any, issues there would be. I don't anticipate any, but there was a reason why we put the year limitation on the original use variance. So that's what I'm struggling with a little bit. Can you help me, can you think of anything that you can say to help me work through that technicality? Because I'll be honest with you, I feel like we almost ought to start the clock ticking on the year again, since you really didn't have a chance to operate during that first year.
I believe I expressed all of that back in 2022, but if you'd like, I'd be more than glad to break it down once again.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, are there any council members who wish to speak? Mr. Mamalante.
I just have a quick question to clarify. As we approved it in 2022, it was for a year, as you had stated before, but this time, if approved, it's in perpetuity. Is that correct?
That is my reading of the resolution in front of us. Counselor, would you agree? Yes.
But I think I do share some of the concerns that you had mentioned, that we had granted that for a year just to get a trial, see how it worked within the neighborhood and the residents and how the traffic impact. To your point, and it was no fault of Mr. Pilo due to some illness, unexpected illness, but I do feel that we granted that for that year to see how it would work out, and I feel a little bit cautious voting in favor of it in perpetuity. Is there a way that we could make an amendment for another year?
Counselor, do you see any problem with us entertaining a motion to again impose a year condition into this resolution?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
So that would be acceptable.
Would it be possible to bring Mr. Pilo back up to see if that would be acceptable?
Sir, would you like to come back up?
So I guess my question is, would you be willing to, I agree, I fell in love with the story in 2022, wanted to see this succeed. A little disappointed that we didn't get a chance to see how it would operate and how it would perform. Would you be willing to do the same thing for the following year, do a year and then come back for the approval?
The problem is, this will be the second time I have to pay the fee, okay? To have to come a third time, that doesn't seem too fair to me at all. But if that's what you guys are asking, I'm willing to do that. Yes, I'm willing to do that. Was something else I was going to say. I just slipped my head.
That's okay. You're willing to do it, but you'd prefer not to, correct?
Well, no, I am willing. I'm actually willing to do because nothing has changed. Everything that I came and told you guys last year, I came in here with the honest to God truth, you know, that I would run the business to the best of my ability, use integrity, dignity, respect, you know, in the process. Just to point out, Pilo's Body Shop was just recognized by the Better Business Bureau as a five-star body shop. Okay, I don't see why I can't carry that integrity and dignity that got me to that point to my business of the tacos, which is going to be much easier to run than a body shop. But if it's 1 year you're asking for, let's do it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for this gentleman before he sits down once again? Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Volker.
Thank you. Can you tell me what the fee is
It's for to be here,
for this process,
it's
for you?
$400.
$400? So you paid $400?
Twice.
2 years ago?
And
now you
400
paid $400 again?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the same thing.
And the first time, though, I mean, it's not our fault that you didn't,
No,
you
it's
know, that it
nobody's
didn't
fault.
happen.
I just wish you guys would take that into consideration somehow.
Right, okay.
It's
Thank you
it's
very
hard
much.
times right now, you know.
Yes, I understand.
$400 is a lot of money right now.
I understand, yeah. Thank you, I just wanted to clarify
Thank
that.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we are back to questions and comments from the council. Well, I can certainly understand the hesitation about having to pay the fee again and again, and that makes perfect sense. My concern, and perhaps it's a lawyer's concern, and I'm overthinking it, but I'll go on record as saying I didn't feel very strongly about the year condition back in 2022 when we approved this. However, once the council takes that step, and to the extent that we're going to do this in the future, if the passage of time allows someone to wait us out and not follow through with that trial period, a year, 2 years, whatever it would be, then it really renders that a nullity. And we should never do it again. And anybody, and I'm not casting any aspersions on this gentleman, I take at face value his explanation. But I'm fearful that it establishes a precedent where whomever doesn't like the conditions, that time limitation that the council puts in place, would be able to run out the clock. So from my standpoint, because of that overall procedural concern, if you will, I'm unwilling to vote in favor of this as much as I continue to like the story. If we're going to establish these conditions, they ought to have some meaning. So absent another year-long trial period, I'll be voting no on this resolution this evening. Mr. Carroll.
Mr. President, I don't know who to address the question to, but is there a happy medium where it can be part of the same variance so the fee doesn't have to be paid, but still have a year time limit?
I'll ask Mr. Triple to chime in, but I'm unaware of any ability for us to waive the standard fee for this specific individual and make an exception for him and him alone. Mr. Triple? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I could not hear.
Mr. Triple indicated that he's not aware of it having been done, and he's unsure as to how we would do it and enforce it.
We put it on our calendar, we've done it.
So again, I'd like to see this happen, but that year-long trial period that we didn't have a chance to be able to monitor continues to make sense to me. Mr. Benicki.
Yes, Mr. President, at this time, I would like to make a motion that we amend this to include another 12-month or 1 year probationary type period, and then reevaluate it in a year. We're basically going to just start the clock over, and that way, you know, we can better tell if it's going to work for him and work for us. If it works real well for him, which I hope it will, then he'll be more than happy to pay that fee and make sure that it works. If not, then he just doesn't come back, it falls by the wayside, and we're done. So at this time, I make a motion that we can start over with the one-year probationary period.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to amend proposed resolution 2024-07 by incorporating language that would once again impose a one-year trial period on the approval of this proposed use variance. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Mr. Emmons?
When does that period start?
Council, the question is, when would that period start? My suspicion would be that the clock would start to tick as of this evening, but I'll defer to you. Does that answer your question, Mr. Emmons? Then any further discussion with regard to Mr. Benicki's motion to amend the proposed resolution? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And at this point in time, absent any additional questions or comments from the council, I would call for the question on proposed resolution 2024-07 as amended.
Question?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council on the proposed resolution as amended?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed resolution as amended passes 9-0. Proposed ordinance number 2024-08, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 311 Taylor Street. This is a use variance to allow duplex in a R1 single-family residential unit.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-08. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward to the podium.
I'm here by WebEx.
Go ahead, ma'am. If you would begin by stating your name and address for the record.
Michelle Bordeaux, 10189 Shadowwood Drive, Granger.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your proposal?
So, yes, so the property at 311 Taylor is currently operating and has been operating as a duplex for numerous years. I'm in process of trying to purchase this property, and it is causing me some problems with the mortgage lender because it is in an R1 single-family residential, so it's showing as an illegal non-conforming. What we're asking for is that we be able to continue using it as a duplex, as it has currently been running for multiple years, to be able to get this sale underway.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council? Mrs. Volker?
Thank you, Ms. President. Just a point of clarification. Are you attempting to purchase it, or are you the current owner?
I am attempting to purchase it. I work with the owner who is trying to sell it as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Hahn?
Will you be managing this property locally? Are you in St. Joe County?
Yes, I'm in St. Joe County. I live in Granger, so I will be personally managing this property.
And you will continue to use it as a duplex?
Yes.
And if you see there were some code violations on this property, do you have any plans as to how you're going to provide better upkeep while still using it as an apartment?
The current sellers now have eliminated the one where it was, I think there was like parking in the street or parking in the yard or something. There has now been big boulders put there, so there's no way that they can park in the grass. They have to park on the allotted parking where it's allotted in the street for them to park. As far as the trash and that goes, we drive by the properties that I own in Mishawaka quite frequently to help prevent any of these issues moving forward. So I would hope to do the same thing with this property as well.
And then one more question, since you did say parking will be on the street. In the lease, is there going to be any wording as to how many vehicles per apartment?
Yes, there is wording in the lease that states that there's only enough parking for the people that are on the lease. So upstairs is one person, downstairs is two.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions from the council? Thank you, ma'am. If you would, please mute your microphone once again. And then I'll once again inquire if there's anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution. Seeing no one, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members wishing to speak? Mr. Prince, I have a couple points to talk through with you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Sure. First of all, as part of, I'll call it an add-on to the staff report here, we've received some communication from our code enforcement department that touched on the issue of code enforcement issues that Ms. Hahn referenced earlier. And my reading of this is that beginning in January of 21, continuing through October of 2023, there were a series of 6 nuisance cases that were opened by our code enforcement department with regard to this property. Is that your understanding as well?
That is correct.
And that builds upon a history of some substandard code enforcement cases that were opened, albeit prior to the current owners taking possession of the property in 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
There's also in the petition that was filed related to this resolution, and then in the staff report, some discussion of the non-conforming status of this property. Can you touch on that, and in particular, touch on what it means to describe a property as a non-conforming property?
Yes, so when you have a property such as this is currently being used as a duplex. The zoning itself does not permit a duplex, but in our research, we couldn't find any evidence that was ever constructed as a single-family home, or that basically it was probably constructed as a duplex when it started. So as you know, the zoning ordinance was not adopted until 1966. So there are many properties that were created prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. So in this case, we have no issues with the applicant and their request. Our issue is because of the lack of parking, that if you allowed the R2 zoning to continue, that there is no room for parking, and it's going to potentially perpetuate the R2 use in the future. For example, the reason the mortgage company typically wants the zoning to match it is if that property ever burns, they would be allowed to construct the R2 two-family home back on the property, and that's exactly why we are recommending against the change in zoning, because if it burned to the ground, we have a non-conforming situation. We've already had parking issues in the area. This would perpetuate that. Our preference would be this property be converted to a single-family residence, and particularly if it were to burn, we would want it reconstructed as a single-family to minimize the nonconformity, not perpetuate the nonconformity.
And with regard to that non-conforming status, based upon the recommendation of staff, as well as the BZA, if in fact the council chose not to approve this resolution, what would happen with the ongoing use of this property as a duplex?
It would not be impacted. Essentially, it is non-conforming, so there is no order from the city to vacate or to stop that use. It could continue, albeit the applicant in this case is looking to purchase it and is unable to obtain a mortgage. So somebody else, if it were to remain for sale, likely someone else who would not need a mortgage would be the one that would buy it, not the current applicant.
So based upon the presentation that was made by the appellant this evening and the information that's been provided, Is there any change in the staff recommendation for denial that you'd like to share with us, or do you stand by the recommended denial of this proposed resolution?
No, we feel for the applicant, we appreciate that they're local and want to manage the property. We wish more properties were done that way. But just in this case, because of the nonconformity, unless parking could be provided for the property, our recommendation would be the same regardless of who owned the property. So we stand by our recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Prince? Mr. Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Prince, I think you touched on the answer to my question. I just want to be clear. I was going to ask if there was any remediation that could be done to the property that would possibly change your opinion, and it sounds like if the purchaser was able to have some kind of guarantee that parking was going to be remedied, then it might
So
be
right now,
going-
the property is on a postage stamp. There's not room for parking is fundamentally what the issue is. So barring working with a neighbor to try to figure out how to provide, by buying property and adding it to the property, that would be the only way conceivably I could think that it would be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Prince? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Then we are back at the stage of questions and comments from the council. Hearing none, then I will call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
No.
Mrs. Volker?
No.
Mr. Carroll?
No.
Mr. Benicki?
No.
Mr. Emmons?
No.
Ms. Hahn?
No.
Mr. Mamalenti?
No.
Mr. Violi?
No.
Mr. Hicksbaugh?
No.
Proposed resolution fails 9-0. Resolution R 2024-09. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a petition of the Mishawaka Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 415 Bittersweet Road. This is a use variance to allow for a restaurant with drive-through Jimmy John's in a C1 General Commercial District, and the petitioner is requesting to be postponed until May 6th.
Thank you. Based upon the request of the petitioner at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to postpone public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-09 until our regularly scheduled meeting of May 6th, 2024.
So moved?
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to postpone further public hearing on proposed resolution 2024-09 until our regularly scheduled meeting of May 6th, 2024. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, so the matter will be postponed until May 6, 2024. And with that, we will move into ordinances on second reading.
Ordinance number 2024-05, an ordinance annexing contiguous territory to the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, providing zoning classification therefore. This is to annex 1.5 acres and establishing zoning as S2 PUD, and amend existing Douglas Common PUD to allow for storage units 16963 Douglas Road and adjacent property. This is a vote only.
Thank you. The record will reflect that in compliance with Indiana law, the public hearing on this matter was held at our last council meeting. So at this time, we will open up the floor to questions and comments from the council only. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right over the committee report. Thank you for the catch, Mr. Mammaletti. May we have the committee report, please?
You sure can, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance 2024-05, report that they have examined said matter and that their opinion should be adopted. This is signed by the committee members present, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. With that business dispensed of, and thank you again, Mr. Mammolini, we will now move into questions and comments from the council. I do have a question for Mr. Triple. Mr. Triple, both at the public hearing and then in various forms of written communication that the council has received, some questions have been raised with regard to the legality of the approval of this proposed ordinance. Could you address that for us, please?
Yeah, there was three different Mishawaka zoning code sections in the zoning code referenced by one of the 137-586 and 137-587 both reference uses and developmental standards in industrial districts, which are not germane to this argument because this is a PUD request and amendment. And the third, 137-672, speaks to restrictions on residential developments and PUDs. And again, that might have been a legal argument, but not in this instance because the existing PUD is already has non-residential uses. So my opinion is that they fail, and the staff report is quite good in summarizing these issues, that this was already determined to be a commercial corridor, and there's non-residential uses on this PUD already.
So in other words, if there was the pleasure of the council to approve this proposed ordinance, there would be sufficient evidence that was adduced at the time of the hearing and based upon the staff report that would support that action under Indiana law.
Oh, I agree, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Triple? Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, I will call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Han?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0. Proposed ordinance number 2024-06, an ordinance annexing contiguous territory to the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, and providing zoning classification therefore. This is to annex 30.64 acres and establish zoning as S2 PUD, northwest corner of Capitol Avenue and Cleveland Road. This is a vote only.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom is referred the matter of proposed ordinance 2024-06, report that they have examined said matter and that their opinion should be adopted. This is signed by the committee members present, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And at this time, consistent with the requirements of Indiana law, the record will reflect that we held the required public hearing on this proposed ordinance at our last council meeting. So at this time, we will open up the floor for questions or comments from the council. Hearing none, I will call for the question.
Question?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Han?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0. Proposed ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance annexing contiguous territory to the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, and providing zoning classification therefore. This is to annex and zone to S2 PUD for residential subdivision, southeast corner of Bremen Highway and Dragoon Trail. Vote only.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom this was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2024-07, report that they have examined said matter and that in their opinion should be adopted. This is signed by the committee members present, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. With that, the record will once again reflect that the mandatory public hearing pursuant to Indiana law was conducted at our last council meeting. So at this time, we will move into questions and comments from the council with regard to the proposed ordinance. And hearing none, I will call for the question.
Question?
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Han?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 9-0.
Thank you. And at this time, we will move into privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor. Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. Unfinished business.
Yes, Mr. President, we have our Resolution R 2024-03, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, approving a report of compliance with statement of benefits for certain property owners and withdrawing a previously approved real property tax abatement for Barak Group LLC. That is the amended title.
Thank you. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to reconsider proposed Resolution 2024-03 as amended.
So moved.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the reconsideration of proposed Resolution 2024-03 as amended. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. So we will now move into the reconsideration of proposed Resolution 2024-03, and I will entertain any questions or comments from the council. Hearing none, I will call for the question. Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Ms. Han?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonball?
Yes.
The resolution reconsidered as amended passes 9-0.
Thank you, and thank you to Mr. Spear for his work on that. New business. At this time, is there any new business to come before the council? Mr. Mamalenti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to publicly thank Department Head Tim Ryan. Over the last week or so, he's accepted my calls during the workday, post-workday, on the weekends regarding some issues that Republic is having currently, picking up some residents' trash and recycling. Mr. Ryan has been very on top of them, excuse me, communicating with them, trying to figure out what issues they're having. From what I understand and what he has been told is that they're having truck and staffing issues and they're working their way through it. And I'll preface it by saying that I've never had an issue on my street, but I've been hearing more and more complaints regarding Republic. They've been a good vendor as of late in the years in the past. And I just ask that you be patient with them over the next few weeks, and hopefully they resolve some of their staffing and truck issues and going forward. So thank you to Mr. Ryan and all those involved.
Thank you, Mr. Mamalenti, for your follow-up on that issue. Is there any other new business to come before the council? Then hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.